Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Um, Eyal here from Modalics, and I will be doing my stream now, getting some progress hopefully on this big project, monster of a project that I'm working on. Let's see. It's a little better now. You can see still the edge of the corner of my green screen. That's embarrassing. Here, not perfect. All right. So hey everyone, my name is Eyal. I am the co-founder of Modalics, a plugins company, and also I'm a programmer. I'm doing mostly audio things, music programs, music plugins, stuff like that. And what I'm working on, let's go over here so you can see me fully. So what I'm usually working on is I have all these projects I'm trying to share with the world. Let's call it this way. And this one is something we're doing for Modalics, which is like a music composition software. It's going to be a plugin, a software. It's going to be very interesting. And the idea is that it's going to be a visual programming language, visual composition software, but based on concepts that derive from a programming language, specifically a functional programming language. So it's a very, very interesting model where you can manipulate themes and ideas in like an algorithmic way. So you can do like your own algorithmic composition. And it's very interesting. It's implemented in C++. A lot of these streams are all in and about C++. The implementation itself is not a functional programming language. It's a different kind of programming language, but that's where it gets interesting. Like it's all about expressing concepts that will, be in the user's interface, right? And kind of expressing those in the model of the code, and also adhering to all kinds of like performance limitations, because eventually we want musicians to be able to use this to play live. So we can't just randomly use any code any way we'd like. We want to have something that would be durable for live performance. Yeah, so as always, please, it depends on where you're watching this, if it's on YouTube or Twitch or LinkedIn or Twitter, X, feel free, Facebook as well, feel free to like, subscribe, and comment as well. I will be, since I'm streaming this in a few different places, I will be bringing up comments on screen. So you could just post it on the chat wherever you are, and I will bring your comment up if you want to talk about something. And I will just dive into this. This is going to be a very interesting process, because a lot of what I'm doing, and I keep saying that, is that this is not like some tutorial where I'm already knowing exactly what I want to do. This is me, barging into an unknown land. I don't think anybody's make exactly the kind of software that we're making. I definitely didn't. So I know that. So I'm running into many problems where, I'll design something a certain way, then I have to kind of backtrack on it, refactor the code, and move on in some new direction. I'll be, fixing bugs, all kinds of fun stuff that hopefully will be entertaining to those that watch here. Okay. So it looks like we have somebody watching from Colombia, which is awesome. I've never been to this part of the world, and it's awesome that we have somebody joining us from there. This is I'm broadcasting the weird time where I am in Las Vegas. It is 5 a.m. So probably not the best possible hour to stream, but I know at least people in Europe and I guess perhaps South America as well. I'm not sure where the time is there. people in Europe definitely will see this in a reasonable hour versus people in the US who are probably all asleep. Okay. So I will be jumping into code and trying to explain what it is that I'm trying to do. And it's kind of weird to even explain what it is that I'm trying to do here. Oh, wow, I was trying to get hot all of a sudden. So, yeah, so what am I trying to do? First of all, you know what? I'm just going to play some music here. And this is going to be just AI music that the stream software lets me play. I have no control over what this is going to play. It might be horrible. I'll just pick something. Let's hope the music is not going to be too unbearable. It's pretty bad. Let's try another track. Those AI generated tracks can get so weird and so bad. So I'm literally just picking from some browser that I have with a few different like AI tracks. Okay, it's pretty bad, but I'll keep it for now. Hopefully the mix of the audio is in a good balance with my voice. Let me know in the comments. Yeah, so I'm going to start explaining what it is that I'm doing. So here's what we're doing right now. I'm just doing some balance on my own like playback. Okay. So here's the idea. The problem that I ran into in one of the previous streams is that in this concept of a language, right? Now I know this is a music program, but it's like a language. In this concept of a language, something that I ran into was that I needed some idea to really express the idea of ownership between things. Like you see, I have this thing called the expression map. My code now is kind of half broken because I was just trying to fix it in a certain way. But basically what happened was this thing called the expression map. I defined this thing as the thing that owns the expressions of that scope. And by own, I mean it should be storing, for example, let's say you create a function, right? You create a user function, you store it in the expression map. But then later, after you create the function, you want to be calling the function, right? So you want to reference it somehow. And in the beginning, I had something very primitive where I was just storing pointers. I was just saying, okay, well, there's going to be a unique pointer or an owning pointer, which is my version of a unique pointer. You had a unique pointer here. It manages the lifetime, it holds it, but then somewhere else there's a pointer to this. But I ran into a problem with the pointer, even though it was generally correct in terms of like it ran and it worked, but the pointer did not serialize so well. Like the problem was that when I took my, whatever the user did on their screen and I saved it into a JSON file or a JSON, string or something, then I needed a way to express that connection so it can be restored. Like for example, let's say you call a certain function and you have the pointer to that function. I wanted to make sure that when you save a preset, load the preset back, you will still call the same function. So we need some way to have a mapping between objects that the user is creating, because it's user functions. It's not just like functions that the library provided. But also I need a way where you can have almost like pointers to this that get stored. So the solution that I came up with, which is not perfect, so I will be kind of, I guess, revisiting this solution just now. But the idea that I came up with this thing where I have something that's called a pointer ID, and it's what it does is that it's a weak pointer, stood weak pointer. So type that for this stood weak pointer. And the owner of this is a shared pointer. I was using a weak pointer here because a shared pointer has, a weak pointer has the semantic where it can kind of observe at what's going on in the real pointer. So it kind of say it can kind. So for example, if the real pointer is deleted, you can have some you can have a test for that. So I was using a weak pointer, and then I was using a shared pointer to create the expression. And then I had to do something, which is just where I am now, is to find a way to express serialization, right? And what I did was I have the serializing library where things get called with this serialize function, and that's where you express what are your members, what are your containers for serialization. And I had to write some usually the code for the serialize function is much more straightforward. I had to write something more complex because what I did was, when I stored this, I converted the pointer. So I was using it as a pointer just until the very last moment of serialization. Then I was converting it into an ID, into a number. And then when I was restoring it, I was reading that ID, but I wasn't storing this ID anywhere because this ID is only relevant in the moment of serializing this. So that I'm not sure if this is the best way to do this, honestly, but this is the best way I came up with so far. Have an ID-based system, and it kind of works. It works. The interface is still a little bit ugly. But what I will do is I will start, but I did run into another problem, which I probably need to solve right now. So the problem is, I have this dummy project here where I was testing these kind of, testing this kind of containers. Let me just copy this because I probably just need to start making sure that I know how to do this in in like a clean way, maybe even a template. So that the idea is that what I was trying to work with is, because there's another layer of complexity here, this thing called expression, which is what we're storing, is actually a polymorphic type, right? It's a base class, and there could be multiple types of it. And I have in my library ways to serialize a polymorphic type, so that you can save which type it was, and then when you deserialize, when you load it back, you kind of do something to make the text that was saved into a concrete derived type. But I'm not sure the solution is so great, so I will be kind of, I guess, reviewing this to make sure that I know what I'm doing. So I have just a plain old, I'm just going to remove pretty much all the code here. Yeah, remove pretty much everything. I'm just going to start with, I'm just going to copy this code from, I wrote it, and I might even use a template here. Yeah, we can probably use a template, right? This is a template. Okay, so there's a good question here. So Armando Pontes asks, hey, quick question. What happened to Project RNL? Oop, let me bring this up. Okay, so Project RNL, for those who don't know, is a band of mine that has operated for quite a few years. We played a few places in the world. We toured Europe and the US. We have an album that's out on Spotify. You should hear it. There's a lot of videos. We're posting mostly videos all the time, like live performances and studio performances and recordings. Definitely check those out if you have any interest in that. Yeah, so Project RNL, I guess, a long story. I don't want to go into all the details on this stream, but I think what happened is it ran its course after a while, and then, but the members and I have kept doing music. Like if you look it up, you look up under my name, for example, or even under the RNL channel, we posted some stuff there. There's tracks that the members have created over the years together. So Olu Bianiker, the bass player, is still working with me in Modalics, is my partner in this. So we make a lot of tracks together still to this day. And we a lot of times we will collaborate with people, like Alon Tamir, like Dekel Wild, former drummer of RNL, like Sharon Petrover. All these people, like we will always be working with, collaborating with, recording with. Most of the music I've done in the last few years was instrumental. So I didn't like bring in other singers usually. Usually I had either myself singing with a harmonizer or something, or instrumental music. And that's also something I guess that happened to me with RNL was that eventually I just felt like I wanted to do more instrumental music. That was a big thing for me. Like it's a lot of the music I hear now is instrumental. It's jazz, classical music, world music, electronic music, everything that's instrumental. So doing vocal music felt a bit weird, I guess, at some point. And yeah, and we still perform once in a while with the instrumental group. We have a group which is similar to Project RL, you can say, called Abstractions, which we do with Lubianica or myself, Omri Abramov, who's like the best saxophone player in the world. Like you've never heard anything like this. And we do this with different drummers. And so last couple of gigs were with Gadi Seri, who's just unbelievable percussion player, but we also did one with Sharon Petrovel from RNL. So we want to think of ways to go back to doing performances like this. Yeah, so this is, I guess, a short story about RNL. And by the way, if you check out our latest plugin, Mindset Drums from Modalics, the sound of Doron Giat, who played on many of the RNL tracks, is there. It's literally his sample, so it's also one thing we want to do to kind of capture the RNL sound in that plugin. So that's really cool. Okay. Thank you, and like the song Latin Dream. Oh, I like the song Latin Dream. I love that song too. Great song. Can I bring up my piano here? Let's see if I can bring up my. Yeah. So let's see if I can do something like this and point my camera here. Let's see how good this is gonna work. How flexible this camera is. A bit flexible, right? Latin Dream. So that song was something like. Let's get my piano happening. Right. Let's bring up my sound. So Latin Dream was a song that was something like and the chorus was something like So yeah, great song. I love that. One of my favorite songs, definitely, that I wrote. Yeah, so this was the piano moment for the song Latin Dream. Thank you, Armando, for talking to me about it. I might go into stretch as well, play some piano. Oop, boop. Come on, camera. Stay where you are. Here we go. Okay. All right. So let's go back into my coding stream. Sorry for the distraction. So what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to find a way to... I was trying to find a way to kind of explain to myself what the complexity of what I'm doing, and the complexity of what I'm doing here with the code. So yeah. So I want to thank you, Armando. that you're into my stuff and my music, and I very much appreciate it. It's very close to my heart, those tracks. Okay, so. And from actual music, I'm going to switch to very boring AI generated music again. So just want to go back to the stream to explain what's going on. I'm writing a music software, a composition software. It's quite complex. There's a lot of moving parts in this. What I'm doing now is specifically has to do with a data structure that I'm trying to implement that's very specific to how the things are laid out. Yeah, so let's have a look. Okay, where were we? Yeah, so what I was trying to do, I was trying to see, I think what happens is if this is going to be a pointer ID of t, that means that it should take, for now, we'll probably need something like, should be something like using container equals vector of std shared PTR. This is not std vector, this is my vector, but it's basically a wrapper around std vector with some extra functionality that I added. But there is a std vector in there for those who are in the know. Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm going to be taking the pointer ID, and the idea is that the pointer ID is also something like use ref equals to with PTR of something like that. And the idea is that this thing will work with a container and with a ref. There's probably better ways than actually passing the container, but I will do that shortly. And this will be container, or sorry, ref container. Okay, so. Let's just change the names a little bit. It doesn't make any sense. Let's call this container. Doesn't do that so well. Let's just do container. Container. Okay, and there's probably better ways to do this. I probably should find a better interface for this. This is just a sketch. The idea is that this thing, when it takes a container, that means that when you save, you will look for the index of the container. I probably can do this externally, by the way, so I'll need to think better of how this can be done. But the idea is that this holds the pointer to the object. So the idea is that if, for example, I would have something like a vector of std shared PTR of int, right? That would be my value. It's an int. Just for simplicity, vec to the name, and then I will add stuff to this thing. Like I would say something like create is like in place back really. I can also do so yeah. But anyway, this would be like I can create a make shared of int with 5. Let's create this thing with 10, and this comes handy when you create a vector of these things, right? The idea is that there's some creation vector, but there's also some other vector that's going to be using this. So the other vector is something like vector of pointer ID of int. That's the other side of that. These are like users who use this, and they're just referencing these values. They don't know the owners of it, but they need to maintain the connection. Yeah, so this would be something like a this would be something like a let's call it pointer vec. Yeah, and the idea is I now need to create a helper function that would help this happen. Create function looks like something like this: templates type in t, not void, pointer ID of t. Create pointer ID, and it's also going to take type name args, a variadic amount of the arguments. And the idea is that this is what this will do. Oh, and it also needs the actual vector. So it needs this, a vector of shared PTR. Maybe I'll just make this simpler. Maybe instead of doing it like this, I'm going to say, for now, before I will template this into oblivion, is that, let's call it this thing like a shared vec or something. Shared vec of t. And this would be shared vec of t. Yeah, so then what I should be doing is when I have this, so this thing would take the shared vec of t as an input and arguments. And then what it's going to do, it's going to do exactly what I did, just this, just for this call. So it's going to do vec, right? It's going to take the vec, create it with a make shared of t, with stood forward of args, and this is going to probably need something better than this to make this work. So what create pointer ID, and what this would return to me right now is, if I'll take this here, auto, create it or something. This is going to give me basically the shared pointer that gets created as a result of this. What I need to do is create. I basically need to be able to. I need to return an object with this vac and the created, because I think a weak pointer can be created from this shared pointer. Yeah, that is that once you created this thing will know how to serialize itself later on from this. It's not the cleanest solution, but it can work, I think. Who knows? Again, feel free to let me know in the comments what it is that you're interested in. I'll be answering questions across all the different networks where this is broadcasted on: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, etc., etc. Okay, so hopefully this AI generated music, by the way, is not too distracting. Okay, what's next? Okay, so I created this, and the idea is that now, instead of creating it just directly, I will be doing something like, O2 created equals vec, or create pointer ID. That will take a, let's call this owner vec. This owner vec, and 5, for example. And then I can just push this into here. I can just take this other pointer vec. So I have this 1, create 2, create 3, 5, 7, 12. And then I will push these. So now pointer vec, I should be able to just create those or add those. Add created. Right, should be able to do that. Created 2, 3, and I'm just going to have some statement in here so I can debug and see what happened. Let's see, is something not compiling? No, looks good. Okay, let's see what this does. So I have created. It has the actual pointer in it with 5. Then I have this thing with a 3. Then I have this thing with 12, and the pointer vec, right? First one has a 5, second one has a 3. Sorry, second one has a 7, third one has a 12. That's good. Now let's try to print this into a JSON, which is the reason why I've done this, right? I've done this because I wanted to connect this to some text data structure. To do that, I would need, at least in my library, I would need to have some wrapper around this thing. So I would need to do something like struct data or something. This would be here, and this pointer vec would be here. Something like that. I think this can now be just how do you call this, shared vec of int. So this is like the owner, and this is the let's call it reference vector. And I should be able to do something like, void create int number. And creating this would do exactly what I did here, which was first create, right? It would be created equals owner vec. Sorry, create pointer ID, owner vec, pointer vec, no pointer vec. Sorry, number. So this would create me one, and then I can just in the pointer vec just add this created. That's created. That's really what I want to do. So this would do both of these operations at once, like build, take your reactor, and then let's have what I call a serialize function. This is a special function that gets called by my serializing library, which is a template, so it doesn't need to be inherited from anything. So what this is going to do is going to do something like this might not work as is. I might need to add a little bit of code, but I will still try. So this needs to be something like a child container. Let's start by adding the pointer vec. Actually, I think this should be easier. Pointer vec or something. Pointer vec. I think I'm not sure. But I think this might work as is. Maybe not. The owner might not work as is. So I'm gonna add like a couple of lines to that. But anyway, the idea is that now that I've done it, I can do something like I can create this thing, data, create 5, data, create 7, data, create 50, and then let's do serializing. We'll just do debug JSON. It's gonna make it easy. It's gonna data, right? So this will just turn this thing to a JSON, then print what it has. Let's see. Okay, so I forgot something. No matching constructor. Great. Okay, so this is why. Serialized in its default form will try, like for example, let's say when you load this, because the serialized function will work both on loading and saving to a text file. Serialized function will try to resize this thing, try to resize this vector. But pointer ID has a non-trivial constructor, so this is not going to work. Because of that, I've had something for all these functions that will help me supply a way to create a default constructor. So the way I would do this is something like auto create func equals pointer vec. No, sorry. I think this is more something like return pointer ID int, which will take, in this case, the owner vec. Yeah, I don't even need to give it an int. This is fine. So the idea is that I'm passing on. I'm creating this function. What am I missing? Oh yeah. Okay, so this is the function that I'm creating, and then I'm going to pass this function here to add child container, and then add child container will know that whenever it needs to create something, instead of just trying to add something to the vector, it's going to go back to me and say, hey, give me a new item, and I can give it this. Okay, here you go. So you see, it loaded two things, but it only loaded the IDs for this, right? It didn't save the actual values. It's because it was kind of hoping that these values will be stored separately in the owner, right? So let's do the job for the owner. So this is the bit that serializes the pointer vec. Now let's serialize the owner. which will actually look similar. So it looks, I'll probably going to do this with a different create function. So this is going to be like owner. It's more going to be something because it's going to be owner, and this is actually unused in JSON. This is something that I do for backwards compatible with XML, where you need to have a name for each element in an array. It has to have unique names. Like you can just have 1, 2, or well, you can have a number. I guess you can do 1, 2, 3, but that's it. And then, so this will be something like owner. I know this word will not show up, by the way, in the serializing. So what I'm doing, let's call it something like owner func equals pretty much the same thing, but this would return a stood make shared of int. And the way the serializing library works, it just asks you to is this correct? Is this everything correct? Yeah. So the idea is that the way the serializing library works is that the owner. Yeah. So the idea is that the serializing library knows how to, or it expects to be able to resize arrays according to however many things, and then what it does is that it calls back to me just whenever when it creates something instead of using the default constructor. That's really what this is here for. So let's do that, and let's see if this is going to work. I don't need to specify how to serialize an int because the system should already know how to do that. Perfect. Here you go. So this is what happened, right? I don't know if you can see this. Let's copy paste this into some nice Visual Studio Code or something that shows nice JSON values. Right? So here you go. So now when you see this data file that was stored, you can see that owners had specific the specific values, like these are the source of the values, value 5, value 7, value 750, and then pointer vac had these IDs, right? Yeah, so this is the idea. So the way this stores it, this lets you know that this is connected to this, and then when you when you reload this, which we're just about to do, then I should be able to restore this to the exact same state. So let's try this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a function call. Let's say get JSON data, right? JSON. No, how do I call this? JSON. Here it is, JSON. So JSON is gonna do exactly what I did, right? But then it's just going to give me back return serializing to JSON data, and this will destroy all these objects once it's done. So this is going to clear this, and then so first of all I'm going to do something like do source equals get JSON data. And now I'm going to recreate another data object. So David on YouTube asks, "Hey, what you coding?" Great example. So I'm coding a music composition software plugin that is going to be something exciting we're doing for our company Modalics, the company that Or Lubyanikir and I have started. We make. If you don't know our products, you really should. I will, occasionally will demo them. We do sequencers, arpeggiators, effects, and musical instruments, samplers, all kinds of fun things that try to break the paradigm of how you create music. And this is our most ambitious product to date. It's a music composition software that's based on the idea of algorithmic composition. So you'll be able, and you'll see a little bit on screen pretty soon, but it's very raw still. But the idea is that you will be able to specify rules for the language or for your track, for your music, and you can connect these rules in very untraditional ways to kind of generate interesting and developing music from these set of functions and rules that you'll be able to specify as a user. So yeah, and what we're seeing is the implementation of that, even though right now specifically I'm just showing some data structure that I'm developing for this. And just to recap, what this structure is the idea is that a structure that's based on the use of a shared pointer that's only used for creation of an object, but later somewhere else there's a weak pointer that's used to reference that thing. But the layer I'm building on top of this thing is a way to serialize these objects, so that whenever you want to turn these, let's think about these as graphs of complicated objects, but you want to make them into a text file like JSON, then you can easily restore the connections, not just the data of the objects, but what was connected to what. And let me just show you what I was doing. So now what I did was I just tested that the method I've tried is correctly storing something into JSON. And let's see if I can load this into JSON. So I need to do something like do data equals serializing create from JSON data with the source. And now I'm just going to print the data to see what I got. So serializing debug JSON data, right? So I created something, I destroyed this object once it was finished. Then I created another object just by using this. And I want to see if this thing, data, is going to be able to pick up the values for the objects and the references, right? It needs to pick up that there have been references. And let's see what it did. Okay, I think it looks pretty good. Let's see what it did with the new visualizer. So it says that you see it gave me a list of owners. The owners had value 5, value 7, value 50, right? But then it had a pointer vector that says, well, the first one is pointing to 0, second one is pointing to 1, third one is pointing to 2. Let's try just some other order. Or before I do that, the idea is that, just to give you a concept, the idea is that let's say writing something like a function that does sequencing for a form. That's how you can reference specific parts of the form. You can say ABA, right? Instead of copying this data and laying out, you're saying, well, it's ABA. If you want to know where the ABA, where the A and the B is in terms of the musical parts, you reference to these owners. So that's really the pattern I was just implementing. The idea that there's the connections are maintained, and the logical connection is maintained even when turning it into text and leaving the realm of pointers. So that's really what it is. Now, yeah. So now, the one thing that I've left, even this is pretty good, I think. But the one thing I've left is I want to see how this works. Maybe I'll commit this because did I do something in the library? Not yet. No, I'm not going to commit this. It's definitely not compiling because I don't want yet. So I'll just commit this example. It's called updated ref counted test example to use an experimental pointer ID. Yeah, so what now I have this, and what I need to do from this is that I would need to I want to see if this is going to work not just with an int, but I want to see what needs to be added for this to work with a derived type. Because in reality, I might not have an int. I will have something like, let's say something like struct base, virtual destructor base, and then we'll have some derived class like like a base and struct b base. That would be a more realistic scenario for how this would how this is actually used. Like you have different kinds of expressions in the program, in the language, and then they all derive from the same thing. So just to make sure they're apart, I'm gonna give one of them an int x equals 50. The other ones would be something like int or let's do string y equals text. And I'm just doing this so that there will be a clear separation when we see the data layout of this, right? Let me just quickly do a serialize function of this void. Serialize reflector ref add xx, and here I'll write the same function with y. So this is just a simple way that would help this A and B classes to just serialize themselves in context of this, in the context of a vector or some container, some polymorphic container. So now this is getting interesting, and this will get to places where I might need to make changes in my library. So here's what I'm doing. I need to have a way where yeah, so now this should actually be a base, and this would actually be base, and this obviously will not compile. Even if I want to create a base, I think this will not let me do that. First of all, base is an abstract class, right? So oh, it's actually not abstract class. It might actually let me do base. Let's force it to not let me create base just for the I'm just in like virtual void, dummy equals 0, and I will implement dummy in these just as a way, just as a simple way to kind of force the compiler to break if I accidentally create an object of type base. So I wanted to make sure that this will not happen. So I'm going to build, but this will not compile, probably for multiple reasons. Yes, all these fun error messages. That's so great. Okay. Yeah. So now I need to improve a little bit of my function called create pointer ID. Let's start with that. This is the first thing that is not working. Create pointer ID will not work with this because this expects that the shared vector is of size t. Yeah, I can probably, instead of doing that, I can probably do something like type name t, type name container. I wonder if the order is correct here. But I think so. I think that's a container, and this would just be a container. So I'm not going to force this to be a type t, and all it means, if I'm not mistaken, is that I should be able to ask for this to be pointer ID of this actual type. So this needs to be the derived type, really. So I'm going to make this also t. Let's ignore this for now. This needs to be an owner ID of t. No arguments at the moment. Yeah. So. So sip of my coffee. Okay, so I did this, and then I should be able to have, well, this would obviously fail. So I need the creation to be more something like A, B, A, like different, actually different types of classes. This would also not compile, or at least not work as I should. Yeah, it's not compile. Let's see exactly why. Yes, so it tries to create a base. This is not going to work. So here I didn't make shared of base. So this fails. And this fails because I actually need, I think what I need here is a better, yeah, I need more information here. This is really what's missing. So I already have in my library a few mechanisms that deal with this thing with a polymorphic type, but they don't look exactly like this. But I do have them. So I have these things called add poly. I think it's called add poly. Yeah, add poly is the thing I was initially using for this. And to test that, I can just look at my unit tests. Let's hope my unit tests are passing. As I have unit tests for this serializing library. Let's do enable testing. And then let's see if my unit tests are happening. Hopefully I didn't break them in these last things I've done the last few days. Okay, unit tests are building. Oh. That's weird. Oh, all targets. I don't want to do that. Let me just do this, the test runner. I think this should be better. While this is building, you know, I know people are watching this in different networks, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn. So feel free to post comments, ask me questions, and I will be posting them on the screen, passing them on to everyone else. And discuss it and talk about it, etc. Okay, this breaks. Let's see why. Oh wait, what is this building note mapper? That's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. So it looks like the change I just did broke something in my MIDI code. Why? What's wrong with this? Let's see what's wrong with my okay, what's this again? Specific use limit. This was just something that I worked on like yesterday, so I probably need to fix this. It's very related to the part of code I'm working on because I changed a generic part of the serializing library, which I thought would be purely additive, but I guess it is not necessarily. No, can you find temple not viable? 5. Okay. Right, so it says try to call this. Tries to call add child container. Maybe I forgot to pass something here. Container name, element name, child, get factory function. That's right. Oh, yeah, name, element name. Oh, this should not pass the element name, right? So what do I do with the element name here? How was I using this? That's weird. Wait. Oh. Yeah, this is confusing. What should this be doing? Oh, this should be calling add child container. Okay, this is the bug here. This was called the wrong function. So this needs to forward this to another function. Eventually pass this to the library type. Hopefully this would build the unit tests. I really shouldn't have let this thing go. I should have built the unit tests in before my last commit. Very much a failed developer routine by me here. Okay, everything builds. Ooh, here we go. Oh yeah. I think it's fine. I'm not sure what this print is, but I think this is okay. Right? But now I want to run this C-test thing so that I'll get like proper output from this. So let's run. I don't want all targets, I just want the test runner. Because I have my test runner can also run different kinds of tests, I guess. Okay, good. I think this should run catch2, build catch2, and run all the different tests that it has. Here you go. Oh, I have a fill test. Let's see why. Okay, the fill test is just because one of the runners is not running. Yeah, the other runner is related to sequencer stuff. Should I even run this? I can try. I can try running this other runner and see if this is going to work. I'm not sure why I can't just run these separately. This would be an interesting thing to investigate later. Yeah, I knew this one would not build in this context. So, yeah, why is this still? I wonder why can't I just do this? Like, why can't I just run test runner on its own and get like the actual, you know, the catch to detail, right? Is it, or maybe it's just hiding somewhere, right? Because it is a catch to target. This thing should support it. Test, you know, all tests. It seems like it's not figuring out the tests for whatever reason, what the tests are. I'm not sure why that is the case. No idea. I'll go back to this, and I'm going to, for now, ignore the fact that, yeah, that sec test that's going to show as if there's an error, but there's no error here. It's just test that I didn't want to run. Okay, but these are my tests, and basically. Oh, but wait, I think I should do something else here, right? I think I should be doing... Yeah, you know, that's weird. I remember that I've done it like this, that I've used this without running C-test somehow. Right? There's some way they fixed this, and I'm blacking out completely. Never mind. Anyway, it does do the actual. Well, there's a few. Here we go. So let's go to this code, because I do have source code for these tests, for these unit tests, that should give me a hint on how I did this so far in my library. So this would be called toolbox modules serializing. Oh, actually, it's to the end. Tests common serializing. That's good. Okay, so here I'm doing. I'm trying to serialize this thing. So, okay, factory.poly. Here it is. Poly objects. Okay. So I think the base things. Do I still have this add poly here? No. Okay. So poly object. I think this is really the. Oh, here we go. Serialize special. I completely forgot this was a thing. So I did this thing that I created in the past called poly objects, and I think the meaning of it was that I'm not sure I love this, by the way, but here's the idea. The idea is that you hold this poly objects of a base class, yeah, I don't know if I love this solution. It's very intrusive. I think it's something that I tried. Yeah, I probably need to remove this from a library. I don't think this is used anywhere. I think now I'm using another method even, so I can just ignore these unit tests. These are using an old method that I probably should replace. So let's ignore those. Now the way I've done it is that I just have a singular function. It says something like serializing add poly, where you can add each type. Basically, you can add these types. But the problem with this is that this yeah, so this isn't exactly suitable for this. That's really the problem. The problem is, yeah, the problem is to really make this work. I need to and this is what I've done before. I've actually done another type that's a wrapper around this type that captures the name of the type. But I think here I will need to poke deeper into this library for this to work. So let's see what am I doing here with my add sorry, not this function, with this add poly function. Yeah, I think this is really the function I'm using mostly in the code base. Yeah, this is really the function that I guess is somewhat interesting here. The idea is that I'm passing a name externally, like a name of a type, which would go with this derived type. And then if it's loading, it's going to check if it's the same name and create this new type. Or if it's saving, then it's going to kind of do this matching between the type and the child. So that's really how it works, but maybe I need a better way to give the user more control. I mean, it's not so bad. This does let the user define a constructor and stuff like that. It's not so bad. Maybe I could find a way to make this work. The problem is I'm not allowed to call this on the children, right? The problem is, yeah, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to, at least if I'm using my current container serializer, which is a child container. So I'm not allowed to let the child know how it serializes. What I am allowed to do is pass a child that knows how to serialize itself or something. Which created some indirection in the past, which I didn't like. There was another child here. Yeah, so probably you know what? I might still keep that. Maybe I'll still keep that just for now, because maybe it is true to create another structure that serializes the thing, which I do have in the language. So maybe I will. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. So let's go back to the language. But also, you know what? Maybe I would grab this, because I think this is pretty much how I'm going to use this. I will put this in. This needs to go to the library somewhere. Let's put this for now under serializing. I think that would be close to where this belongs. So serializing, and let's create this data structure called pointer ID. Pragma once. Okay, I know people are watching here, by the way, so feel free to let me know if you have any questions. I will try to explain what it is that I'm doing. As I said, I'm running music composition software that's based on algorithmic composition, so there's a lot here that is very close to how you would program a programming language, as weird as that sounds, but this is what I'm trying to use. So now we'll just say that this would be something like serializing. I don't know if I love the idea that this is serializing namespace. Maybe I'll call it something like something else. But this is in pointer ID. Okay. I think that's okay. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows anything about anything? By the way, I probably need to help a bunch of helper functions just to actually get to the object. It's going to be useful. Stuff like T, operator arrow, turn object, get. So let's start with something. Let's do T get, turn. Yeah, something like that. And I also need a const version of that. For whatever reason, C++ forces me to do this. So double for the const. And the same thing with T operator. Oh, and I think this should also have a operator star, because you want to do reference this as return something, and then same thing with the const. And the same thing is it requires, I guess, an if statement. So it's more something like an operator bool, const. Or you know what? I'm going to do two things. First of all, I'm going to add an operator bool. That would be nice. Return. Object. I think this is the weak pointer should be convertible to bool. But also, I need to do something that gives me. I need to do something that gives me a comparison against the pointer. So it should be something like operator equals bool that takes a const t star. Other. Let's use get. And I think this should also be get, just for simplicity. Or not equals. Or yeah, if it's not equals, null pointer. This would be simpler. So yeah, so I made these because this needs to be operated as if it's a pointer. Like you should ask if the pointer is okay and work with that pointer. And stuff like that. So it's kind of like something that pretends to be a pointer. The one thing I didn't like is that I didn't love the fact that it was in the serializing namespace. Not sure where else to put it. I'm gonna start having it there. I don't know if it's great. We'll see. We'll see. So this would be this. Oh, it's a vector of serializing pointer ID base. Something like that. Then let's see if I'm compiling this test program before I'm moving on. I might do a library commit after this. Hey, looks like we got Abel KZ in the house. How are you? Thank you for watching the stream. Feel free to ask me questions about what I'm doing. I will be usually happy to answer questions. Okay. Okay, this is awesome. Oh, okay. So I'm still doing this base class thing. So what I thought about doing to make this compile the base class as an initial concept is, instead of doing directly touching base here. Oh, you know what? This is interesting. Yes, this is where it gets interesting, I think. because at first I thought, okay, I'm gonna have an holder object that does this base class, derived class manipulation. This is what I've done so far. I'm starting to realize I don't like it. I don't like it, because then it would be very hard to pass on information about the actual objects. So I want to see if I can get rid of the need for a holder. So yeah, so I think I do need to solve the problem with my serializing library right here, right now, and see if I can find a way to make this. So really what I need is when I serialize a container like this, add child container or something, what I need is really a way to I need a way to something is running here. My fans just started to go off. I need to start getting another computer just for the stream part, because my computer is awesome, but when I have the stream set up, just the stream, everything starts to like blow up. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I think, so currently Edge Shell Container does have a thing for what they call the factory. But factory really is only used for creation of a new object. I'm going to try as an experiment to see if I can write a free function that would no, because I still need somewhere to get information about the specific reflector, right? How did I implement add poly? Let's look at this again. Yeah, so the way I've done this before is that I used to have an object. Here it is, polymorphic object, and the polymorphic object was basically doing the add poly things, right? That was creating this this kind of a object, and I'm trying to think, maybe there's a way where I can somehow inject an object like this during serialization, right? I want to maybe create a temporary object like this, because add poly is really yeah, like I can maybe I can give it this object, like, hey, here's the object that you would create for each object. That's interesting. Almost like, you know, when you create this, or when you serialize this, right? When you save it, not just when you create the object. So when you go to approach this inner object, suddenly some other function gets created. Which in a way I guess I could do, because I can statically overload a function for this type. You know what? I think I should be able to do this. I'm not sure. I don't know how. Maybe I want to add something, but maybe it will just work as it. Let's have a better look. The way it currently works is, yeah, that could probably work. The way it currently works is when I'm calling this thing, this serialize. So as you can see, there's no overload here. There's no override here. There's no virtual mechanism. There is a much more global option called serialize object, where you can inject how to serialize this thing. And there's a few defaults already in the library, like how to serialize an int or how to serialize juice point or something. There's all these things that already exist, but then there's also something that I probably should add about, like, I should be able, I think, to pass it explicit ways on how to serialize a shared pointer of base. Let's see if this is going to work. You know what? I'm just going to call this thing. Let's call it void. I mean, we still need a way to create the object, but maybe not, because it's a shared. You know what? Maybe I can just go without this. Let's see if this is going to work. Instead of telling it how to create the thing, I'm going to do something like void serialize object, and let's see how I implement this. There's a question here. Have I tried Z editor? No. What's Z editor? It's like a text editor, like a VS Code or something, or Vim. Let me know ever in the comment what it is about Z editor that's interesting and good. You know what? I can just have a look. Let's look. Z editor. Code at the speed of thought. High performance multiply code editor from the creators of Atom. Oh, you know what? I heard about this one. Like a code editor that's used in Rust or something. Here you go. It compares versus C11. That's fun. Intelligence on tap. Generating code with AI. Language aware. I mean, this looks really good. I would see what, how do the parsers work? Wow. Well, it looks pretty impressive, to be honest. It's a new code editor similar to VS Code, but it's supposed to be as light as fast as Sublime and have all integration, AI integration. That's awesome. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to be downloading it. There is one that was made recently by JetBrains. I think it's still in beta. They have this thing that's supposed to be like a VS Code alternative. I'm usually in the JetBrains ecosystem. I like their stuff, and they made this thing called Fleet. I think that is. Yeah, Fleet. Right, and Fleet is supposed to be like a fast version, like a version, and what I think the idea is that it's kind of like this. Looks like a bit like VS Code and stuff. Yeah, so they have this, and I think their idea about this was that it's like a VS Code like thing, but that you can have plugins, and then it should be faster than their IDEs. So VS Code currently, I'm using VS Code a lot, so you'll see it come up on the screen a lot. I think VS Code is awesome, like definitely one of my favorite apps to use, but also I think VS Code is like too rudimentary for major work. Like for example, VS Code, I feel like it's missing a lot of the refactoring options, and especially in C++, it doesn't do correct build system analysis. And even if you load like a bunch of plugins in VS Code, I think it's still, I feel like, I mean, I can write code in this. Like if I write some JavaScript, it's good. But if I write C++, it's difficult. So I will be very interested to see. And you know what? I can actually install it now. This is going to be fun. I'm going to install Z and see if it can, out of the box, load a CMake project. This is going to be fun. Let's see if out of the box it load a CMake project and configure it and give me some useful information about it. That will be a great task for Z. Let's have a look. So I got Z. Yeah, so the comment is that may have the same problems as like VS Code that you mentioned. It's a new editor after all, but it's an interesting editor. It might be fun to try. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just loaded Z here. First of all, it looks great. It definitely feels pretty fast. Like I don't know if it's faster than VS Code really, but it definitely feels more responsive than the JetBrains stuff. the full-on editors. Like there's responsiveness. Like I can see the quickness on screen already. But now let's see. Do they have a plugin system, or is it automatically going to know about all the different languages in the world? I'm going to load a project that I have. That's like a so I have this project that I have called Make a Sound. I've been working with this on the stream. It's open source. It's like an audio driver project. So I loaded it. Does it know how to configure this? Like, does it have a plugin that says, hey, VS Code can do what I'm doing right now. So VS Code has a plugin that says configure. Yeah, but for example, I have now I have a CMake listen. I don't think it knew what to do with it. So I think I do need to tell it something. Like, I can load maybe a C++ file. Yeah, so it managed to do, yeah, but as you can see, this didn't really work because it managed to read the C++ code by syntax. Okay, so Z extensions. Let's see, Z extensions. Let's see, can you do CMake? CMake? Neo CMake. Okay, but this is just the grammar. I'm gonna get it anyway. Probably need it, so let's install this. What else do we have for C++? Xcode, blah, 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 blah. Docker, they're all useful stuff, but didn't I search for C++ or CPP? Something? No? Yeah, like the first thing I would require is something that would load this, because I can, does this thing can open a terminal here for me? Do I have a terminal? Terminal, okay. So I should be able to, I can generate my own project. I can do like CMake -G, Ninja, -B. Maybe it's Ninja? Forget. It's case sensitive for whatever reason, -B build. So, oh, okay. There's already a build folder here. Let's send this into the build Ninja. Okay, so I can do what I can configure this myself. But I would say that first of all, I would want somebody to handle this for me, because this is, I don't want to type command line. Hopefully they'll make an extension that takes care of this stuff. So let's see. So build Ninja. Now let's see if in the context of this build. Yeah. So here you go. So this is a problem, right? It did not parse the build system, right? This is something interesting. You see, this, like you see, it didn't know where this comes from, right? This comes from a library that's written in here. It's in the repo. It's literally would be a couple of files up, but it doesn't know about the include paths because it didn't parse my build system. Yeah, like there has to be a way for me to build, debug, do useful things with this, not just edit the text. I mean, there has to be, right? There's probably a way to do this without, because I don't want to run the debugger from the command line, right? There's no like debugger or something. Yeah, let's see. The Z website. So everyone says that there was Z website. Could have docs for how to set up CPP projects in Z. Okay. Okay. So Z. We'll go CMake specifically. Okay, CMake is pre-processed other things. Blah blah blah. Okay. C++ build or something. Okay. What is this? Yeah, so I mean, come on. They just told me to build it from the command line. They told me to call CMake and call make myself, right? Like, this is not good enough. Like, this is I don't want to. And then I'll need to call make myself from the command line and then debug myself somewhere else. I don't know, like I mean, so for me, it's I would maybe when I have time and I'm working on it. But you know what? Let's just for the last thing, I'm just going to see how it deals with JSON, because that was a few minutes ago. We've opened VS Code. The last whatever I pasted some JSON. Let's see how it parses it visually. Is it when it detects that it's JSON? Here we go. That's already like it didn't understand that it's JSON. Like I need to tell it probably to go and say JSON, right? And then it's fine. Yeah, so I didn't like that as well. I didn't like the fact that I had a new file pasted and it didn't know that it's JSON. Like with VS Code, I can just paste this and you see it detected JSON. I didn't have to type the actual type. So I think Zed, from the speed point of view, I'm excited. Like especially we'll see how fast it is when real language parsing happens, because sometimes these benchmarks that they post about speed are just in a clean project with no parsing. Because CLion is not like a dumb text editor. It goes and searches the language database, gives you autocomplete and blah, blah, blah. And same with VS Code if you're using the extension. So I think that at the minimum, I would, I'd be following this. I think once, it develops enough usable extensions for what I do, I might be interested in, to testing it out and switching and, yeah, but I definitely, if you ask me today, I think I was definitely, even for something like JSON, I was way more impressed than VS Code than Zed for today, right? I know it's an ongoing project for development, and but I think that. By the way, VS Code has problems too. Like if I, but like the VS Code C++ integration is not very good. This was integration of VS Code, but it will still work. Like just to give you an idea, I'm just going to open the same thing I tried to open in Zed. Right, and those what I'm about to show did not exist in VS Code, like 3 years ago, but it's now there. How did I call it? Make a sound, right? This is my library. I want to remove these previous build folders because they're just making everything dirty. Yeah, okay. So I got make a sound, drag it in. I don't want to save anything here. So you see immediately when it saw that I have CMake, you see start to configure the project already for me. Configure CMake, that's new. That's interesting. This is a new feature. There you go. There's like immediately showed me options, but first of all, by default, it just worked. You see, it did all my. I didn't have to call any command line stuff. It brought everything in. Now, when I'm going to look at my code, yeah, you see, this is. There's no errors here. It could actually parse the headers correctly. It knows what the types is. I don't get false errors. So this is, I think, and also I have, I have a play button, right? I can build this, right? This would build it and run it, right? So I think this is more. This does stuff about audio drivers. Prints out the information about my audio device drivers, which is the what that library is doing. Yeah. So I think, and even that I would say would fail for more complicated C++ projects because there's things missing in how they implemented it. If you'll use different libraries like Juice, you'll start to see weird things happening in the parsing. But building should still work. Building and running should still work, but the parsing gets a bit iffy, and this is why I love CLion. Yeah. Anyway, anyway, what I was gonna say is that yeah, I like the premise of Zed. Looks interesting. I'm gonna stick with VS Code and JetBrains stuff for now until it's matured. But maybe we should revisit that. Whenever they have like a big new version. Maybe we should kind of look at the development and whenever they do specifically for C++. Like let's say they do a C++ thing. Let's see what we can make happen with that. Okay. Thank you, by the way. Thank you for teaching me about this, Evan. I really appreciate the shout out to Zed, this new editor, and I think that we should be looking at new tech like this, because sometimes and I felt that way about VS Code too. Like VS Code was completely unusable to me in the first few years, But then as the extensions, matured, then it became a thing. Now I can actually do a C++. I mean, it's not the best, but I can definitely do a C++ project from start to finish with VS Code, right? Which you couldn't do before because it supports CMake, it supports the build system, it's got a debugger, it does a lot of the annoying things automatically, like we just saw it, configures, show me the options, everything that is a real pain to set up myself for every single project. So yeah, so that's good. Okay, here we go. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to override this thing called serialized object, which is some template function that I have that will get called internally by this whole templated chain of calls. But I can specify an overload. So I think, see this thing called, so I think I should be able to do something that says if it's a shared pointer of base, by reference, I think. And I think this would be called. And just for a start, I'm just going to do log. This called yo. Here's what it's going to do. Just to make sure that I'm getting the patching of this correctly. Because the patching back from this call into here would be quite a heavyweight, templated call. So I'm just going to try this. Let's see what happens. Might not compile. Who knows? Not compiling. Let's see why. Yeah. So when did it try to create a base object? Did it try to create a base object somewhere? Or maybe this did it, right? Okay, this is better. Oh, add. Okay. So add. Yeah, so this needs to give me make shared of t. Oh, I think I understood the problem. The problem is, so I'm currently when I'm taking in the construction of this vector, or this thing called pointer ID. That's interesting. Yeah, like currently I'm. And that'll be interesting to see how this is solved, right? Because currently what I'm doing is that I'm taking a weak pointer of a t, and I think the real problem is, let's go back. So I'll do that. Let's see if this is just going to compile this. I think the problem is that I'm trying to, how do you even pronounce it? Yeah. I think the problem is I'm trying to, I need to create a connection between this pointer ID of derived to a pointer ID of base. This is really the connection that I'm trying to create here. I want to say hi to Samarthina or Ilanda, as I know her, an excellent programmer who's joining us on the chat. I hope this AI generated music is not driving you crazy, by the way. Okay, yes, I think people are saying that the music is too loud. Let's turn it down. Is this better? Is this a better mix? Let me know if this mix is better. Okay, so what I was trying to do, and I think I need to solve this problem in a much more fundamental problem. The problem is that I needed to, first of all, I had this thing called a pointer ID, something like serializing pointer ID. And the problem is I did not find a way for this thing for base. Yeah, like I did not find a way where I can initialize this with a derived type. I think this is the thing that I need to solve. Let's see why wasn't it solved. So the problem is I had originally this thing called shared vector, really just a vector of shared pointers, really. This is like the owner of this, and the idea is that this should take the idea about how this should be used is this should take something like a it should be something like a vector create just to make shared derived. Yeah, I think I understood what the problem is. Yeah. Maybe I should. Maybe I can just have it. No. I want to do this correctly. The idea was that I have some auto objects equals to make shared of derived of B. B is I had A and B. These are just like boring derived classes, so that I will have some type. So A is derived from base. Now I should be able to do vec. Vec create object, and then I should be able to do something like B. Sorry, I should be able to initialize this with the vec and with object. And I think this would maybe this would work. Yeah, so this works if I initialize it directly, right? If this will initialize this weak pointer from a shared pointer. Even though it's derived class, this worked. But I think the problem was when my templated thing called a pointer, like basically, I think the problem was that I actually had a vector of this object or something, and I had this thing called, there's already a function called create pointer ID of type A. I don't need this anymore. Create a pointer ID of pointer ID of type A, and it would take the vec. Right, and I think the idea is that this would go to the vector, create one, but also give me and then what happens is I try to push this in. I try to say objects add ID, and I think this is going to fail. Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's the wrong type. So the problem is I need a way where when I'm creating this, when I'm going to this pointer ID object, I should also be able to create it from other kinds of pointer IDs, not just this one, which is what I did. I did this, but I probably need to add probably do something like a template type name A and just pass it in A. So anything that's convertible to this, right? Oh, but I also want to do that. I need to give it a default, so it should be something like a ref. Let's see, and this would not work with add, but it should work with create. Yes. Okay, this works. So what I did was I created this constructor that should take another part and take another type, and then by then it should be able to do this this kind of conversion, I believe. Let's see if I'm right. Let's go back to compiling my real code. Right, so I can just do something like auto data equals get JSON data. Okay, good. So this would actually change to create instead of add, the same problem as before. So, but just giving it for people who know C++, create is in place back with the extra nice thing that it returns the type that's created. That's useful. And add is pushback, really. So it's just a wrapper around these. Okay. So I create a pointer ID of t. And this says no matching constructor for, okay. Because the pointer of t is not of t. This is where, oh, right, because I think I changed it. I think now I need to pass it. Yeah, because the pointer ID is not necessarily of t. I need to pass another type in there. Yeah, Alana said something about the resharper engine and templates, and I don't know. I think the old engine also failed with these things. We can check, but I think the old engine also had problems sometimes seeing these errors in templated code, and I think it could only see it on use. I think I'm pretty sure the old engine was messy with those same situations, and I think Visual Studio also had problems with this. But we can try. No, I don't want to try. It's just gonna blow up my memory, so I'm gonna stick with this engine for now. But I think that working with templates in general is pretty difficult. Yeah. Yeah. So the problem is, I think now create pointer ID does not really look at the idea of a derived type. So I think what I should do is, yeah, I can do something like type name A, which could be but that's interesting, you know. Because I kind of like the idea. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. The problem I'm trying to figure out here is I'm trying to figure out how to what kind of types I'm constructing here. So let's see. I need to think of how to, because the idea is that I have this thing called a pointer ID of base. And when I created this, I actually got a pointer ID of derived. So I need a way where when I'm pushing this in here. Yeah, because they have no, there's no derived class here. That's very interesting. You know, that's an interesting question. Elena, maybe you should know. Maybe you know. And I'm going to ask Gemini about this. So how does shared pointer do this, right? Like, let's say shared pointer is, I have a shared pointer of a derived class. How can I put in a container a shared pointer of a derived class into a vector of a shared pointer of a base class, right? Because the classes derive from each other, but the shared pointer does not, right? Shared pointer derived does not derive from shared pointer of base. Those are separate types. Let's see how they do that. I want to read. I want to ask Gemini, which is my current favorite AI for code. Let's just ask it what does it know. So I'm going to say I'm creating a templated object that wraps a stood weak BTR of t in C++. just with PR of t. I'm trying to create a mechanism similar to stud shared PTR, where I can mix and match a stud shared match stud shared PTR of base with a stud shared PTR of derived in a container, like stud vector of stud shared PTR of base. How can I create the same mechanism if I have my own pointer ID base and pointer ID derived? Let's see if he's going to know what I'm talking about. Okay, so it created a copy constructor or something, right? Yeah, so it created a special constructor for a pointer ID of that other type. Yeah, I think that makes sense, right? So I just forwarded that thing. So I can definitely do that. So I can definitely say that if you're creating where's my pointer ID class? Yeah, so I can really say that if you pass the pointer ID, instead of doing this, let's skip this. Let's create a template constructor that says type name A, and this would take a basically the same thing for the beginning, but also a pointer ID of type A or something. Yeah, so that's one way. I think that should kind of work. Basically creating a constructor that converts this. Let's see if this is going to solve my problem. So this is going to create no matching constructor of pointer ID of A. Wait, why pointer ID of A? Oh, it's object to use that object or something. Oh, and also with this, like this would. Oh, I don't even do this. I can just create it from this, and say container from this, and this would be object to use dot container. Yeah, something like that. What am I missing? No matching construct. Oh, because now I don't need to pass the vec. The vec is already there. Oh, it's not. No, it's not already there in this case. Oh no, and it's also not a pointer ID. I'm confused. No. There's not a pointer ID in this case. So I need two things here. I need my pointer ID class, a constructor that takes a, so one is this type name A, and anything that takes a this is like a template, type name T, something I don't know, Z, I'm going to call this. I can specify a weak pointer, I guess. Right? No? Yes? Yeah. And the reason why this has to be a weak pointer, by the way, is that this is meant for situations where I have all these references, but none of them is owning. None of them should keep the lifetime. There could be owning references, but they're not here. This is only a weak pointer class. So this would just be a weak pointer of A. And then there's another version that takes a pointer ID of A. Is this going to let me just call the other constructor from here? I should be able to just do that, right? So use that. Container use that obj. Okay, so this is sharp. Sorry, weak PTR. Okay. Oh. Equals T. Yes, and a default. So what else? Still did not be able to do that. I did create pointer ID with the owner vec. So it tries to create this with vec and create it. This should give me a shared pointer of something. So Ilana says this should have shown in my code. Sure, let's try switching to the other engine and see if this is going to make a change. So let's go here, switch back to the old engine. I do remember the old engine being much heavier because it was running in process and stuff, so hope it doesn't drive me crazy. Give it a bit of time to scan. Yeah, it definitely looks like giving me a better error handling here. So that I might use this for now, even though this old engine is so slow compared to this new one. But I think for this would help. Yeah, let's keep working with this engine for now and see how we're doing in terms of performance. We probably need to report this bug to JetBrains, by the way. Okay. Yeah, I hope they fix that too. It's gonna be fun if they do. Right. Anyway, let's see what the actual bug is and what do I need to fix. So the problem is No matching initialization of A. Oh, right, I forgot to do something. It now goes crazy because of my. That's one of the reasons why I had the unit tests. This engine hates the unit tests. The other one works with them so well. So this engine goes into infinite loops about the unit tests, where the new one gonna solve this in a much better way. Okay, so let's see why. This gives me a pointer ID of t. I tell it what a t is, right? Let's try to do what this does manually before I stop this. Yeah, so let's do something like. Oh, it's amazing. This engine just made my fans go crazy. Not the fans who are watching this, my computer fans that computer fans that are starting to make a lot of noise. Okay, I really want to make progress with this. So let's see, what am I going to do? I want to see. I wanted to manually do what this function was doing and see what was causing it problems, right? So let me write this function. Just looks kind of like this. And the vector was called. Yeah. I'm going to turn this off and go back to the other thing, just because the performance of this doesn't make any sense. My computer is going wild right now, and it's just distracting because the fans are so loud. Let's go back to Nova engine. Yeah, so anyway, I'm just while this will start to initialize, I'm going to do something like a my vector was called this. And I'm just going to manually type in the code that I was doing with the template so I can solve these bugs here. Yeah, so this worked. So it worked when I did it manually. So what is the problem? Like if I do serializing create pointer ID of A, with vec. Is this what's failing? Let's see. Okay, so it's this function that's somehow not correctly constructed. Why? Okay, it could I mentioned constructor for initialization of pointer ID of A. Is the problem the return type here? Is the problem? Let's go back to the manual version. Is the problem that I was trying to store it in a point serializing pointer ID of base? Oh no, this should give me a pointer of ID of A, really. Pointer of A. Container equals created something. Okay, this does not work. Oh, maybe there's no assignment, whatever. I can turn assignment. Okay. Why is this not working? The shared, oh, because this is, I'm confused because this is still a shared pointer. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I should be able to do this with a vec and this. No? Okay, I know what happens. I also need, I think, not just a weak pointer. I think this just needs to be a full-on A. So it can also work with the shared pointer, and the ref point, weak pointer would be created from that. Right? Yes, and I think also here I shouldn't be asking for a shared vec of T. Yeah, this is not going to work with a pointer ID of T. I need something else. But I also need to store it. So there's some interest happening here. This gets complicated. Let's see. The problem is the template type of this shared vector of T is actually not true in this case. It's something else. It's a shared pointer, a shared vector of the base of sorts. And I can store this in a generic container, but then I would have to put this in as a part of the template type. It would be a pointer ID of yeah, this is confusing. Yeah, this is the complicated part about this structure that's has some communication with the container where it's in. It's confusing. I'm not sure I love this. It's confusing. Another option is I would somehow pass it something that just has these functions. Yeah, so Landa says this is a bad deduction error. It cannot be deduced. I don't think it's a deducing problem. I think it's actually a problem. The problem is, I think that the problem is not the fact that the problem is not in C++. The problem is with me. The problem is shared vec of like a let's say a vector of a base. Okay. A shared pointer to a base class and a shared pointer to a derived class are can be moved from one to another, at least in one direction, right? You can put an element of the derived in the element of the base, but not the other way around. But you cannot have a container, like a vector of shared pointer to a base, and assign that automatically to a vector of a shared pointer of derived, right? That's not going to work. Which is what I was trying to do. I had two conflicting types here, and I think this is a logical problem I need to resolve. I need to think how to design this interface better Because really the problem is, and you know what I probably will do. I mean, I can definitely do this. I can make this container templated, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna try something, and I don't love what I'm gonna try. Like, I thought maybe I'll store these two functions. That I can do. Like, just pass two functions of how to basically this is the function, right? Get index off, and then I would pass this as the other function. Yeah. This is really the concept of this. It's basically I need to not use this. And then this should solve the types, because it would be something like yeah. I want to just do something horrible just for the sake of it. I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to do something where I will create an object called let's call it pointer ID map. Struct pointer ID map. And what this is going to do is going to supply two functions. Yeah, does this make sense? Yeah, I'm going to start with this. Even though this is not going to be a clean solution, but it might work for what I need to do for now. But so I'll make it better over time. I'm going to just start with this. So one of these function is int get index of a stood weak pointer of t, something like that. Oh, I can actually ask for, in this case, for a stud shared pointer of t, because the weak pointer of t will lock this. So I can just use next const stood shared pointer of t object or something. And the other one is says still to issue 0. I see the default template argument and the const on the parameter without deduction by. No, I don't think both of these are problems. Actually, this const and default is not what this thing is not what's not compiling. This is what's not compiling. The shared vector of t. The problem is that this kind of an object has to communicate with a container. You weren't here at in the beginning of the stream, but the idea is that the point of this container is that there's an owner container separate from this, and there's different objects referencing this that when you serialize them, they hold like the index of where they are in the original vector. And this is to maintain connections between objects after serialization. That's really what this is for. So this is so that whenever I call this serialize function later on, then I can go to the container and says, well, I'm about to save this as a JSON file or something. I'm about to save this. Give me my current index, because you have to remember that index can change during the lifetime of the program. But when I save it, I can save a fixed state of both the map and this. So the idea is that both the map and this are saved as a part of both the owner vector and the weak pointer vector are stored at the same thing. And that's how I can maintain a serializable connection. So I can, in the case of my music creation language, I can store a bunch of function calls from one thing to one thing kind of randomly, but there's still one owner that kind of maintains them. And if I save this and load it back, then the connection between these objects is still going to be called. It's still going to be maintained. Before that, I was using something called a unique ID, but I did not like that system. It was I guess error prone, I felt like, and also not as performant. And this should be quite performant because there's still a weak pointer here. Also, the good thing that I like is that the weak pointer is more debuggable because you can see the actual object when you're debugging. So that has a lot of benefits. But the problem is this. The problem is that the container is currently not correct. And for the container, I know it's ugly, but you could let the constructor deduce the type of the container and sphinate away if the type isn't appropriate. But here's the thing. It's not about the sphinate thing. It's about the fact that I'm actually passing here the wrong type of container. Like the idea is, so like I can solve this by having a type because I'm storing this. I'm not just passing it, right? It's stored right here, right? It's stored. A pointer to this thing is stored in the class, and to do that in C++, in my understanding, I need to do something like container, right? I need to have a templated or type name container, and that will allow me to store any kind of container. And this is fine. The problem is, this would change the signature of this to a pointer ID of T container. Maybe it's okay. I don't know. Maybe it's okay to store the pointer ID of T container. It's just going to be quite a messy call site already, and it is messy a little bit already. But it's going to make it even worse if it's always going to be this pointer ID of this and this. Maybe not. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's fine. Let's see how bad it's going to be when I convert this to have type name container, right? And that's really nice because that means that I can switch to just be a container, right? This would be a container. Yeah. And what else is not compiling here? Okay. Now I need to do something like this. T container. That's actually easy. Maybe it's going to be easier than I thought. We'll see. Who'll know? Who knows? What am I speaking of? Okay, pointer ID takes. So this would work if you manage to pass a pointer ID with the same container, but it will be flexible in the type of the pointer. Let's see if this is going to be better. So this would mean that I need to pass it this, right? So now it's using container equals this. This is the container. It's created here. It's passed here. And this is also not just a pointer ID of a base, it's a pointer ID of a base in the container. Okay, using container equals this. So it made the code definitely have more words in it, but maybe this will be the solution. So let's ignore this for now until I make sure that this call side is fine. This is like a pointer. Yeah, I'll call this pointer. Okay, so it still couldn't construct it. Let's see why. So I was trying to construct a pointer ID of type container. I'm taking the container. Right, this is a shared pointer of, oh. Yeah, but I guess this is fine, right? This is a base. Oh, okay. There's another logical problem there that's that I need to solve. Let's see. Okay, good. So this works with an A, and if I make this pointer ID be a base, okay, this works. So this is pretty much what it was going for. Now let's use my template function. So serializing create pointer ID of type. I hate this call site. So weird, so awkward. So I'm going to create a pointer ID of type A container. Right. I need to make it tell which container it is. Oh, actually I don't have to tell which because it knows. I'm already passing the container, so I can do this. It can deduce it from me calling vec, and then I think that's it. So I just O2 ID equals this. Let's see if this is going to compile. This would be an improvement. No. Okay, I think I know what the problem is. Okay, so this is a logical bug. This is something else. So here, probably what I have to do is separately, I needed to do this, this O2 created equals. I'm going to create these two separate steps. It's going to be. I don't need to store this at all. This would be here. Yeah. Okay, so the reason why I want to have a pointer ID to an A here, to the derived type. But what I did was I was passing back a pointer of the base type. Okay, so now we're getting better. I still don't love this, but it's better. Let's question here. How long will your stream go? I don't know. I'm going for now. I thought maybe I'll get some food at some point. Maybe I'll take a break. But I might come back to do another stream after that. Yeah. By the way, how do you feel about the AI music now? Surprisingly, this is a little bit like the music that I sometimes hear, like these, sometimes I actually hear generic, not generic, but pretty, but generic, like electronic music, and some of it kind of sounds like this. I don't know. All right, back to my my code. So this is better. Now let's bring back my real call sites. So I was creating, so this would be not just a pointer ID, but a pointer ID of, so annoying. That means now I'm going to start doing something like, serializing pointer ID of yes, this is AI music. This is indeed AI music. So I'm not sure where to listen to AI music. what I do is I'm using this streaming platform called Restream.io, and they just have it as a feature. So I have in streaming deck I have a list of styles. That's pretty much all I have. Like there's like stuff like hip hop and classical and stuff like that. And then you pick a style, and then if I don't like the song, I can have shuffle. But I can't have any control on this. I have no idea where this music came from. I or how to listen to this outside of the stream. Yeah. So this would be something like a base container. It's quite a horrible call site, but hopefully it will solve the problems that it's meant to be solving. Alana says it's definitely different from the people blasting NCS music in the background. Yeah, hopefully at least volume-wise it's aligned or something. I don't know. This will just be a vector of the pointer type. And this would be the pointer. Okay, this would make more sense. Slightly more readable call sites. Oh, okay. This is intentionally not going to work, and I knew that. So I need to fix this. Instead of creating this should also be this thing, serializing create pointer ID of type A for now. This is just to get it compiled. It's not what I wanted to be doing. Okay. Kind of reminds me of the Super Mario, I guess SM64 is Super Mario 64 background music. So how's everybody feeling, by the way? How are you doing? Are there any questions about what I'm doing so far before I'll dive deep into this? I'm really hoping to get like an actual result out of the stream. That would be super nice. Template magic. Yeah, the main problem with this, honestly, at some point I'm thinking of not doing this as a template, just because it's so the logic of this is really weird. It's because of the connection between the pointer and the thing that created the pointer. There's some really weird connections there. So it's there's some logical issues that are a problem. But the thing is, I realize this is so deep in my language engine already, in my language engine, not the ReSharper, C++, whatever. That it's just like I needed to solve this in a centralized place because this was getting way too messy. Also, I'm thinking of what food to get. Which food do I get? I get Mexican food. Do I get breakfast food? Do I get Chick-fil-A? Not many things are open here at 7 a.m. Do I get Subway? So I'm doing well. Love working while watching your stream, but I always notice you started streaming too late. Hoping you get a hang of what you're doing now. Yeah, first of all the streams are back watchable, at least on YouTube, probably on the other networks as well. yeah, I don't have a pattern really. I'm really I'm really trying to get to a point where I'm in the zone, and I just want to broadcast the work. I feel like that's a lot of the way I work as well. I'm just like, just trying to blast it as much as I can when I'm engaged. How about lunar food? What is lunar food? I've never heard of that. Lunar food. I'm looking it up. Lunar food. What is lunar food? Oh, it's like Vietnamese food? Is that what it is? Because I'm finding stuff on Google that says it's some sort of Vietnamese or Chinese food, right? So yeah, Sworddex says, I fully watched your third stream. Very informative. Asaf's showcase was really interesting. Yeah, so for people who haven't watched this, in the last stream, we've had one of my favorite people in the world, which is Asaf Del Sagol from Polyverse. He explained a little bit about the filter topography of the interesting filters that they're doing. And I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was just spot on, and just I love hearing Asaf talk about filters, and he was explaining how a delay can be a filter, how a reverb can be a filter. Super interesting stuff about their newest filter plugins. They're phenomenal. I've personally used Supermodel in all the mixes I've done in the last year or so, which is a filter that they have. Yeah, so Anna says, I think it's about the green screen. Will the green screen come to action? Last stream I did, I used it. I was I have a problem, which will hopefully be resolved soon. I have a problem that I could probably show you, but if the streaming platform I'm using is very limited in what it can do with the green screen. Like, I can do this. Check this out. So I can do this, right? So I can have a beautiful background here. That works. And that's nice. But the reason why I got the green screen is that I wanted to show code on the screen. And the way I could find a way to do this is through OBS. But when I power both OBS and this streaming deck thing, then my computer just starts to blast the fans and I'm getting distracted. So it just throws me off the stream. So I did do it in the previous stream. But I decided to stop for a second, and I think what I just need to do, I'll probably will just get another computer here. Either get like a MacBook Air or a cheap Windows computer, something so that the other computer will do the stream, and this should hopefully fix this. This is how I was doing it before I moved out here. I just don't have my other computers. All my other computers now are in Olo Bianiker's house. I'm remote controlling into them whenever I do Windows builds and stuff. So not basically that's why I switched to this, because I'm so sensitive to noises. Too many fans just blasting is a problem, and I think the problem is mostly on OBS. OBS does not have such a optimized implementation on resources. Yeah, like with OBS, even when I just put OBS in with like camera or something, it works super well, but it immediately starts to run the fans. I was messing with the settings for forever. I think OBS is an amazing program. It's just like I feel like it's not as optimized, especially on Mac, I would say. Okay, where was I? I heard mirrorless action should be good. Mirrorless action. Screen recording software and gameplay. Yeah, but it's Windows only. Yeah, Windows only. So does not gonna work for me. I mean, when I get a Windows computer, which I need to do. So I'll probably use that. But yeah, for Mac there aren't that many options, which sucks. And I mean, OBS works fine if I just ran OBS. But when I do OBS and Sea Lion and the streaming thing, which also does video thing like showing the chat, yeah. So okay. Okay, let's see if I can. Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna take a break of just like 3 minutes, 2-3 minutes. I'll be back shortly. Feel free to write the question. I'll read all of them. All right, so let's get back into it. There was a question: are there music playlists you made? Maybe something less distracting, which you can listen to while working. Really enjoy the AI music in the background. Works very well in my opinion. Public music playlists that I made. Not really. I have my own like playlist that I'm doing for myself. But the problem is I can't play any of this music. Like usually I would listen to like a Brad Meldau piano album, stuff like that. Like there's a lot of usually it would be like jazz, classical music, and sometimes like instrumental R&B or something like that. Yeah. So this is. But here I don't even have a choice for this. Like pick a style. But it's okay. It's working for me. I'm happy to move on with that. Okay, so I want to start by I really want to make kind of get to a finished version of this. I forgot where I was. I was trying to build this thing where okay, so the problem was, there you go. It was creating the owner vector. Yeah, it was not able to create this thing. I need a way to help it create this. Yeah. Okay, this is back to the problem I was facing before, but now that I've fixed my my template thing, I need to fix something else. What I need to fix with this particular version is that when I call add child container, this tries to add create a new object in the container, right? Because especially because this thing is it's a call that works both for saving and for loading. So if it's saving, there doesn't need to be anything about this, but if it's loading, then it's going to try to create something, and I don't think it can do that. Yeah, and I don't think it can really compile that because, or maybe it can. Why am I even calling this? Oh, it's probably because it needs to compile this, right? I'm not calling this function. I think if I'm not call this would be okay. Or maybe something else would break. Let's see. Yeah, well, why is this even called? So it just did called because it couldn't just compile it? That's the problem, because it's not going to be called. I don't think it does. But yeah, it just literally compiled this because, yeah, I guess it tries to convert this function call. And this function call eventually it has something called default factory function. So it just tries to create and this default creation function is for a case where I have just a regular vector of object. But this isn't going to work with this because here, as I think it tries to tell you, this container, which is basically a vector of shared pointers, it can't create a base or even a shared vector of base in there. Let's see. Yeah, it tries to create a base. This is what happens. Let's see what happens if I remove this for a second. Right? This just to make this compile. Yeah, okay, it compiles. So now I'm compiling, but the thing, what I need to make sure that I create a way for this to be able to, when serialization happens, we're trying to serialize these classes to JSON or XML or something. So when the serialization happens, this needs instructions on how to create a new object. And I can, just as a mechanism to make this happy, which would not be so good, but I can do something like auto creation function, creation func equals to return stood make shared of a. So I create a function that this would call it when it needs to create something. And I think, no, what is else missing? Oh yeah, okay. So, right, it is a shared pointer of a base, that's fine. What else did I forget about this? Let's see. There's something in the requirements. It's been a little while since I've done it, so I need to have a look. Something in the requirements of this library. Yeah, it tries to call a make shared of t, so it didn't even ask me. Okay, this is the problem. I was not, okay. This is the problem. For some reason, I thought I was able to. Oh, I know what happened here. This is in the wrong namespace. Okay. I think I think just like another serialization library I've shown, my library requires this to be in another namespace. So it needs to be something like it needs to be like namespace serializing. Is that it? Is that where the namespace should be? No, it was still trying to call it. Student shared PTR. Oh, reflector ref. Maybe it shouldn't be in the serializing namespace. Okay, that looks good. Good. Awesome. So now this is going to compile. Do I still need this? Because it might work well on its own. That would really help me if it's not needed. Awesome. Okay, that's great. So what I did was I passed a templated or a templated specialization of this, like or an overload basically of this function, and then when the vector gets serialized, it's gonna call my function where I can do my own serializing and deserializing. So now I can actually, at least for this particular use case, I can implement this myself. So here's how I would do this. I would do obj or something. And I already have a function for this. It's called something like serializing add poly of type A. And this would take ref and the ref name and the container. Yeah, so this would take something like the object, the ref, the reflector, then it would be called something like A, and this would be the object. Then I would just add a bunch of these. And the idea is that this should be able to serialize and deserialize instances of these classes. And we're about to see if this worked. So this is not needed anymore. I might need this. This might be needed. Well, it says it's always serializing code that consumes most of dev's time. It's not the actual serialization that takes time. The problem here is logical. The problem here is really the fact that I need to maintain connections, right? The problem is if I would just serialize data, that's easy. But the problem is I have to serialize not just the data here, but the connections between the data. I basically have to, so that whenever you deserialize, if pointers have happened, in this case, something that looks like pointers, the connections would be restored. So it's a it's quite a complicated logical problem on how because JSON does not have the concept of pointers, right? It's not like you can say, oh, when you load this is a pointer, you know, this is a reference to that same pointer, or XML or YAML. Like none of these have concepts of connections, just like we do in C++. Oh, I'm not talking about the serializing itself, but when I see someone write serializing code, it's always hardcore programming. I mean, sure, most of my user code does not have these stuff. Like most of my user code will do stuff like this, right? Like usually, you'll have variables like int x, int y equals 5 or something. I don't know, std string text. And then when you connect them, you do something like ref add y, ref add text. And by the way, the reason why this, unlike what this, I think we've talked about this in one of the previous streams. There are mechanisms now that use some sort of reflection to do this, just like we've seen that with Enlom JSON, one of the streams. I don't like the reflection for this because if somebody saves a preset, saves a song, and a month from now somebody changes the variable name from X to something else, this has to stay consistent between versions. So I need to be able to restore something with different variable names if I have a program that's in the hand of users. So there has to be, in my opinion, this kind of manual code, and kind of reflection code would need to be maybe a helper for this, but not this, because I would not want to release a product that a user would have a song in their DAW and the song would not sound the same when I change my variable names. That's gonna be very bad. Yeah. Okay, let's move forward because I really want to finish with this. I'm going to keep these variables because they're fun. So there are 3 variables in there. By the way, notice that there's no save and load. It's all one thing. You report the variables and the same flow gets called from save and load. So yeah, so what was I trying to see? Oh, I was just trying to do the serialized object. I made it. That's good. And let's see if I can bring back my code that actually does stuff. So can I do O2 data equals get JSON data? So let's see what breaks here. So Anda says tupleizing structs is a nice technique for serialization. Yes, but it's gonna fail. As I said, imagine if I tuple this, which Enlom and JSON never do. Like it's a shortcut. If I could tupleize this, and I can, right? This would technically work as long as the variables are X, Y, and text. But the problem is, next version, I'm not going to call this X. I might call this X2, and now this is going to break if I don't do this manual process of attaching strings to specific members, knowing which string is in the hand of users, because this is a part of your interface that's not in C++. Yeah, and I understand. I understand that you want to be able to do automatic conversions. Like I want to be able to just remove this, and as you've seen with Enlom and JSON. And Enlom and JSON can do this. Enlom and JSON can say, oh, well, X, Y, text, I know what they are. But again, the automatic tuple is not helping. We need a manual way for a product that's not going to break to do this. X is X, because tomorrow because the variable name will change. It could change in the next version of the code. This would change, and X has it. I will not be able to change this string ever if I want to be compatible. I cannot, even if the variable name is called X2. This should not be X2. This has to be X because users expect this to be an X. It's saved on their presets. It's saved in their state. So for any kind of future-proofing program, you need the manual step, even if reflection would happen. The good thing about reflection, it would help the mechanics of how this is implemented, right? It would save me a lot of code when I would do this. I could probably do something like something else. Right, so Alana says, because of the name, which can be determined with compiler hacks, but it's dirty, you have to read it yourself. The thing is, when the compiler can do this, we've seen this with Enlom and JSON. Enlom and JSON knows how to take the variable name off the struct. So it's technically possible. You can, the implementation may be a bit ugly, but doesn't matter. It works. You can do this. You can take the variable name. The problem is not the problem is the variable name will not be correct. The variable name will seem like it's working. It's all going to compile, but the variable name, I will change the variable name to x2, and users that have x will fail at runtime. This is the weird thing. It'll fail with existing JSON that have been created with a previous version of this code. That's why when you talk about front-facing stuff, like stuff that have to communicate with the web server, for example, like imagine that I'm saving this to a JSON file and some JavaScript code reads it on the server, right? So there's some Node.js program, right? I can change my variable name, but they will not know about this change. They only know about the text. The text is a part of the types that have been in the API. So that's why reflection would be awesome and probably the most useful thing that's missing in C++, but it's not going to solve this. This is a higher level problem. This is a problem of you want to create stable programs, right? That's why I would not allow a reflection system to be like in my deployed app, because tomorrow some programmer will make a commit and the users will all complain and nobody will notice. So the question is, so the reflector is a translation of the JSON. Kind of. The reflector is a helper object that does not know about which type it is until it gets called. So I actually have different types of reflectors. Like I have a reflector for XML, for juice value tree. I even have a reflector that just keeps a model of everything. The reflector is something that when you try to serialize a struct, it calls you and it says, hey, tell me what you expose. Tell me what you want to serialize. And then you say, okay, here are my variables. It's X, it's Y, right? It's X, it's Y, and it's text. I will be back in a second because someone is at my door. 1 second. Oh my god. Oh, I don't think I will do an ASMR food stream. So I think I'm gonna I just had food come in, but I don't want to eat in the stream, so I will probably wait about 15-20 minutes and another stream will be open. Thank you all for watching, but I'll be back soon to finish this work that I'm doing, so thank you very much.